Greetings, my name is Monty Martin.
And I'm Kelly McLaughlin, and we are the Dungeon Dudes.
Welcome to our subclass tier ranking for the rogue subclasses in the 2024 Player's Handbook.
We're going to be taking a look at all of the various subclasses available to the rogue, and we're going to look at the different abilities and options they have presented to them, and see how they stack up against each other. There's a lot to discuss, so let's get rolling.
This week's episode of our show is sponsored by Roll for Combat, who's got their latest project, Battle Zoo Bestiary, Elemental Storm, and now live on Kickstarter.
With over 170 award-winning new monsters, new elemental spells, new monster hunter rules, and monster crafting rules for 5th edition and Pathfinder, this book is packed with elemental goodness. Channel the power of 20 unique elements, including classics like air, earth, fire, and water, but there's new elements like music, space, and time.
You can craft weapons, armor, magic items, and more from the monsters that you slay in this book, and then infuse elemental magic into them, including new elemental infusions and also new elemental spells. Best of all, everything in the book is compatible with the 2024 core rules, or you could even get them for Pathfinder 2nd edition as well.
The Kickstarter features not only the book, but it also includes hundreds of digital assets and tokens that can be easily used with any VTT. The Kickstarter is live now, so make sure to follow the links in the description below to get in on the Elemental Storm while you can. And now, on to this week's episode.
So as we dive into our tier ranking, let's take a look at the metrics that we use when we evaluate the subclasses. We try to evaluate all the subclasses based on combat, exploration, and social interaction, and how much the subclass boosts the base class features in all those pillars of play. We compare the classes against other subclasses available to that class. Our rankings are not cross-class, so we don't consider how things are ranked for other classes or subclasses for other classes.
Starting with S tier is going to be for the extraordinarily powerful features that enhance the base class in game-changing ways. These subclasses offer very powerful features that can dominate common adventuring scenarios. Sometimes we lean a little bit more towards the combat focus there, but an S-tier subclass, there's basically no wrong way to play them. They can excel and really stand out amongst the options.
Keyword with S-tier, overpowered. This is where we're looking at things that are just too good. Whereas A tier are things that are really, really strong, and they offer great synergy and really fall into a place where we want most subclasses to be. In an ideal game, every single subclass would fall into the A tier because this is a place where they can contribute in all pillars of play, but not in a way that is dominant or game-breaking.
B tier isn't a bad place to land either. It has good features which excel for the right build. Oftentimes, a B tier subclass can really stand out depending on the right party composition, the right game or campaign, and maybe even the right dungeon master. Depending on these factors, a B tier could be S tier in the right campaign.
A C tier subclass is niche. It has features that only work in a very specific circumstances or very specific builds, and there's often a bit of an opportunity cost or a limitation or a trade-off of some kind that means that the features that are really good aren't going to always work for you or work the way that you want them to. C tier subclasses are good when they work, but they don't always work. And sometimes a C tier subclass, it feels like you don't have a subclass at all for an entire game session. Like your features just never came up.
And for the D tier, this might feel like you don't have a subclass at all ever. The features are seldom useful and they don't synergize well with the base class features. If a subclass gets a D tier, that's usually our way of saying don't pick this option.
Yeah, so as we dive into the rogue subclasses, I want to bring a really important thing, call attention to something that this is an issue with all the rogue subclasses. Rogues get a bunch of features at level 3, and then they don't get any other subclass features until level 9.
When we were looking at the subclasses, this meant that you need to take into account that everything you get at level 3 needs to be the most important because it's going to be about halfway through your entire campaign before you even get your next
Yeah.
subclass feature.
And so what those features are and how impactful they're going to be is something that we look at really carefully, because then rogues get features at level 9, 13, and 17, but they're quite spaced out for rogues. And because the 13th and 17th level features, a lot of campaigns are over by level 10 or 10 to 13, so you might never see those ones. So we tend to not rank those features too highly because they come online so late.
You will see us in this video talking a lot more about what the rogues gain at 3rd level and how impactful those features are as sort of the larger percentage of what makes up our rankings, because we're going to have to rely on those for most of our career.
Yeah. So Arcane Tricksters are the first subclass we're looking at in the PHB, and right off the bat, their 3rd level feature is amazing. It's spellcasting. They get access to the wizard spell list. They get intelligence-based spellcasting. They can choose any spell on the wizard spell list as long as they got slots for it. They get up to 4th level spell slots. And once again, their spell slot progression means that Arcane Tricksters have this weird hidden extra class feature in the form of getting those 2nd level spells in the middle of their progression.
Yeah, it does feel like you are getting a lot more class features, because every time you get to pick another spell or get another spell slot, that's a good day for the rogue.
Yeah, it is. You get 2 wizard cantrips and then a 3rd in the form of it must be mage hand. And so the other 2 are probably going to be a attack cantrip of some kind and minor illusion. What's cool here is that your mage hand is invisible and it can be used as a bonus action. And when you control it with a bonus action, it can make sleight of hand checks.
Yeah, it's better. It's a better mage hand than anybody else actually gets, which is pretty cool. That's it for the 3rd level features.
But it's a doozy.
It is a doozy. And so as we move up to the 9th level features, you do get Magical Ambush at level 9. Targets have disadvantage on saving throws against your spells if you're invisible when you cast them. Note that this is the invisible condition, which you can gain from hiding. In the rules, it states that when you are hidden, you get the invisible condition. It's not the same as casting invisibility on yourself, but if you have the invisible condition, creatures have disadvantage on their saving throws against your spells.
At level 13, you can use Versatile Trickster to trip with Cunning Strike against something that is 5 feet of your mage hand. And at level 17, you get Spell Thief, which allows you to counter a spell that targets you. The spellcaster gets an int save. And if they fail to save, the spell's negated. You can now cast it using your spell slots, and they can't use it for like the next 8 hours. I think the big thing with the Arcane Trickster is the spells.
Yeah.
Right? So we don't have any spell skill restrictions anymore. So we're not limited to just enchantment and illusion. We have the full wizard spell list. So we're free to grab really juicy wizard spells like, we're still going to take like invisibility and disguise self.
Yeah.
And probably mirror image maybe in there.
Depending on your build, you might want to pick up True Strike.
Yeah, so you could do the True Strike build, which is you build your rogue around intelligence and use True Strike as your attack, which is then going to give you extra d6s of damage. Or you can still, if your DM allows you to take the Sword Coast Adventurers Guide blade cantrip, like blade singer cantrips, you get Booming Blade as well to boost your damage. So this is, as a cantrip, this is a meaningful damage increase that stacks with your sneak attack, right? So this is right off the bat. Cantrips give us extra damage, which as a rogue we really, really like. We can get Misty Step, we can get Enhanceability, we could get Fly if we wanted to. I mean, you could be an Arcane Trickster with Fireball if you wanted to. Stealth Fireball. Everybody has disadvantage on the save against Fireball.
Yeah, if you're hidden and then a Fireball just explodes.
Yeah. Stealth, Hypnotic Pattern, those are all things that are really interesting.
The Stealthy Demolitionist.
Yeah.
You could build that.
Oh, yeah! The Bad Bomber, what bombs at midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of fun to be had with Arcane Trickster. I will say, nothing that they gain feels like they're breaking the game. They still are limited spell slots. I don't know if I feel like I should give them an S tier.
Well, an Arcane Trickster has, in total, like 10 or 11 spell slots. Like, so even in the middle levels of play, when you have second level spells, you've got like 4 first level spell slots and 3 second level spell slots. So with the Arcane Trickster, what you're really going for here is like the high value emergency spells like Shield, or the really enduring spells like Find Familiar, Invisibility, things like that. Like Misty Step is actually really costly to cast, and it might not be your go-to because you still have cunning action, right? So you can burn through the spell slots pretty quick, but having a cantrip as a baseline is pretty strong. Although it's easy for anyone to get cantrips now in the 2024 rules because of Magic Initiate, right? So anybody, in theory, anybody could get Magic Initiate through an Origin or being an elf and get the blade cantrips on top of this.
I feel like Arcane Trickster is an A tier for me.
I think it's, to me, the Arcane Trickster is definitely the strongest Asterix, maybe the strongest subclass in the PHB. But I agree with you that I don't think it's not overpowered. It's just good.
No. I actually, right? You and I have mildly different opinions on the best rogue subclass right now.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's okay.
I'm torn on that. Like, the Arcane Trickster got a big boost in the form of being able to take any spell from any spell list. And Mage Hand Legerdemain, like, don't sell Mage Hand Legerdemain short.
I'm not.
Right?
It's great.
Because, do you want to compare it to something directly? The Thief's Fast Hands, which we'll get to, is also Sleight of Hand as a bonus action. But this is Sleight of Hand as a bonus action
at range.
From a mage, at range.
Yeah.
Right? And the Mage Hand can already do things like interact with objects as well at range and invisibly. So right off the gate, like, the Arcane Trickster's Mage Hand Legerdemain is kind of eating the Thief's lunch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not arguing that.
And so it's got the extra damage there from the cantrips too. So
A+?
It is an A+. I do give it an A+. Like, you could also do interesting things like take Blade Ward. Again, like, you'd have to go kind of backwards to get Guidance. Like, Guidance on a rogue would be really good, but Arcane Trickster, you don't get that because it's not on the wizard spell list. Enhanceability is a big boost for permanent advantage on a skill. Well, not permanent, but like just giving yourself blanket advantage on skill checks. But like, I also do find that with reliable talent at level 7, rogues are just nailing their key skill checks without advantage.
Yeah, you might not need it. That might be overkill.
Yeah. So I think it's an A. I think that the Arcane Trickster is really good, but there's so much that has been boosted around the Arcane Trickster that it's almost less of an impressive boost.
Like, the Arcane Trickster went up a notch, but a lot of things went up like 3 or 4 notches.
Yeah.
So now it feels like a more level playing field, and the Arcane Trickster is a really excellent choice amongst them.
Yeah. So let's go to the Assassin. So the Assassin's level 3 Assassinate feature means that they have advantage on initiative, and their attacks against creatures that haven't already taken a turn yet, they have advantage on those attacks too. They also deal extra damage equal to their rogue level on a sneak attack against those creatures. I'm just going to come out and say, this is a gigantic nerf from the auto crit of 2014.
Yes. And this is one of those features that a lot of people who are newer to the game read this and it sounds awesome. And on paper, it does sound awesome. But one thing that you really need to keep in mind, rogues, by default, there's a lot of build options here to get around this, but by default, you get 1 attack on your turn. Unless you're building a dual wielder or something else. So you are attacking 1 creature that hasn't gone yet in combat on the first round and doing extra damage to them. You're going to get good initiative, which is great. But every round after that, if the combat goes 3, 4, or 5 rounds, which is pretty standard, this ability is not going to come up again. So yes, there's always a first round of every combat, and you might kill a target. But as the game progresses, targets rarely go down in 1 hit, even if it's a big hit. And yeah, you might be able to take out a minion. Yeah, you might be able to like nuke the wizard, but you might not kill them. And then then this feature doesn't come back until the next time you
Okay,
roll initiative.
let's look at this. So here's what this is. At level 5, you got advantage on initiative, which is sweet.
I love that.
Getting advantage on your rogues have so many ways to get advantage on attack rolls now. Like, even with steady aim as part of the class, if it's a first round of combat situation, especially when people are moving into position, you might be hidden at the start of combat and have advantage from that, right? You might just steady aim to get advantage. So because rogues have so many ways built into the class, and then there's the weapon mastery properties and everything, but
Yeah.
they have so many ways built into the class to get advantage. It almost does, getting advantage against a creature that hasn't yet acted in combat, you might not have needed it.
There
was something
will be like a 40% chance that that's not even relevant.
Yeah, I would actually
higher.
say it's even higher, right? And then guess how much damage? It's 5 points of damage extra from deal damage equal to your rogue level with the sneak attack against the creature that you hit.
So at level 3, when you get this, you're doing 3 extra sneak attack damage.
And at level 10, it's 10 extra damage.
And by the time you're level 10, 10 damage doesn't feel like a whole lot.
Like, who cares? Like, that is not a lot of damage. And so the advantage on initiative, always great. The advantage on attack rolls might not matter. The damage bonus is absolutely pitiful. Like, it is almost insultingly pitiful. And that's your level 3 feature, because your other level 3 feature is Disguise and Poisoner's Kits, which are cool, but like...
I will say there is something interesting about the Assassin that I want to point out. And this is going to be... I want to give it a couple thumbs up. They actually... Although we talked about how they make excellent ranged combatants, they are actually kind of good at being the face who sneaks in and like talks their way in, because they gain proficiency with the disguise kit. And later on, when they get infiltration expertise at 9th level, they can mimic the speech and writing of any creature they've studied. So the assassin has this weird alternate route where you think that they're the ones who are going to assassinate people, hence why they're called assassin. But they also can create a disguise and mimic another person, and then go into like pretend that they're like the prince and like disguise themselves and have like a forged document with their handwriting, or like they can pull off some like sneaky shenanigans with that. Is it enough to make it amazing? No. The amount of times in a campaign that I get to do that thing is 2, 3.
Yeah, and I don't know, is that as good as being able to use alter self or disguise self to actually change your appearance with magic?
No, and I'm not trying to say that it's an amazing feature. I'm just saying that it is something that I want to point out about the assassin, that like when you hear assassin on paper, you go, oh, I'm going to kill things.
Yeah.
But there's also this other little thing that they have going for them, which is clear through their progression.
I think the limitation there is that you have to mimic the speech and writing of someone that you've studied.
Yeah.
So like, and the thing that I often say is that in an infiltration scenario, like mimicking a specific person that you might not be meeting them yet, right?
Well, I'm thinking like, I love the Mission Impossible movies, and I love like how they always have there's always the scene where somebody rips off the face mask, and it was actually, one of them all along, and that's always a fun moment. And so,
but you can get the disguise kit from your background.
True.
Like tool proficiency is nice, but because you get tools from your background, and it's not like a super valuable...
I'm not trying to convince you it's a great feature. I'm just saying that it is there, and if you like that, it's there.
The thing about infiltration expertise that is good is that your speed isn't reduced to 0 when you use steady aim.
So you always get advantage when you want it with a bonus option.
No, this is actually weird, because steady aim actually says you can't use this feature if you've moved already this turn. So in order for you actually have to declare the steady aim at the start of your turn. Like, there's a weird like order of operations thing that if you moved first and then be like, oh, I want a steady aim now, then it doesn't apply, which is kind of weird. But I as a DM, I would never hold a player to that. But again, that's another thing where like, what is steady aim doing? It's giving you advantage on attack rolls. What did your level 3 feature give you? Advantage on attack rolls. Like, this is just giving you a way to use something that you already have a little bit better, which is fine. But like again, rogues need advantage, but the addition of like the Vex weapon mastery property, the addition of the way that feats like Lucky have been reworded is like rogues have a lot of ways to get the advantage they were looking for. And so a minor benefit in the niche situation, like it's the value of these features is not as high as it would have been in a world without Vex.
I also feel like when we look at their 13th level feature in Venom weapons, when they use their Poison Cunning Strike, they actually do deal extra damage, 2d6 poison damage, when the creature fails a save. And it ignores resistance to poison.
Yeah, this goes on because they make the save against the poison every turn.
Yeah, but here is something to consider. There's two things that I want to point out. It ignores resistance to poison, which is great, but there's a lot of monsters that have that are immune to poison, and it's not going to do anything against those creatures. Secondly, 2d6 damage for the cost of 1d6 of your sneak attack dice sounds great, but there is a saving throw involved. So there is this weird thing that you are sacrificing 1d6 of your damage for a chance to do 2d6 damage. So it might be worth it, depending how chance works in your favor.
You might get more than that too,
Yes.
if the poison is ongoing. But
This is not a bad feature. It's just poisoned was not my go-to Cunning Strike option.
Mhm.
It might be now if I was playing an assassin.
Yeah.
This is not a bad feature. It's just not, in my opinion, an excellent feature.
And then Death Strike at level 17, a target that you hit with your sneak attack on the first turn of combat gets a con save. Monsters are great at con saves. Monsters love making con saves. But if they fail, they take double damage from that attack.
Here's what I'm going to say about the assassin. On paper, all of their abilities come off good. And I want to make a hard line there that when I say good, I mean it in like the most bland sense of good. They're not great. They're not overly exciting, except on your first round of combat, maybe. And there's nothing here that I would deem excellent.
No.
And especially if we talk again about what do you get at third level? Advantage on initiative, advantage on an attack, and proficiency in disguise kit and poisoner's kit. So one round of combat is cool.
And what about all the other rounds?
And then the rest of the time you feel like you don't have a sub.
And your level 17 features like that too. Like after the first round of combat, you don't have a level 3 feature. You don't have a level 17 feature. Your level 3 feature doesn't apply in combat, and it's just a tool proficiency, the assassin's tools. The bonus, the not having to stay still for steady aim is good. And it's an extra tool in the toolbox, but it's not all of a sudden transforming the way this character plays. And same with the Envenom weapons. It's like, sure, it could be a little bit of extra. It's only like at the best case scenario is like you traded a con save for an extra D6 damage, which is like, I don't understand why it's just like your weapons just deal an extra D6 poison damage all the time. Like it's all these features are like the weakest are weak.
I don't want to do too much comparison to 2014 versus 2024, but I do want to say that the Assassin is one that I was looking forward to seeing an improved version of. And all that I actually see is that they got rid of the feature that was most exciting about the Assassins, which was the auto crit.
Yeah. This is definitely C tier.
It is C tier.
It's not nothing.
It's not a D tier because like you can still play this and be a rogue, and it adds to rogue elements on your first round of combat sometimes.
It does. It works. The element of it that brings it to the almost D tier is that a lot of these features look like they are better on paper than they are in actuality.
Yeah.
Right? So there is a little, and I think that the thing that I don't like about this is that Assassin is a popular archetype for rogues. It draws new players towards it. So this is, I would say that this is one of the biggest noob trap subclasses that is in the 2024 PvP.
Because you read Assassin, you read doing extra damage, you get to go sooner.
Double damage.
Yeah.
Right?
You read these like this is the clickbait subclass.
Yeah.
It has words and phrases that make you go, oh, what? And then in play, you're like, oh, I did it. And then the rest of the game goes on and you're like, oh, I only did my subclass thing once.
And you forget that half your subclass features aren't working this turn. And like, well, that half your, like, yeah, like the most exciting features of the class only work on the first round of combat, and then they're gone.
When you look at the Arcane Trickster, you gain all of these options at third level. You gain like so many cool things. You can be casting a spell every turn. If you're not casting a spell, you're casting a cantrip. If you're not casting a cantrip, you're using an invisible mage hand to mess with people.
Yeah.
You are doing shenanigans every turn that feels like your subclass is coming alive.
Well, the thing is with the Arcane Trickster, if you're rationing your spells carefully, you can cast one concentration spell or one spell that is having a massive impact for the entire encounter.
Yeah.
Or that just
and then you're blasting out cantrips and invisible mage hands, which you can use all the time.
Yes.
So it sucks to feel like with the Assassin, you have this really cool feature once and then you forget about it. And like there's always going to be combat encounters, which is why I think it's C is like there's always going to be combat encounters and you're always going to be like, yeah, I did more damage than anybody else in the first round of combat. And then the rest of the combat you're doing less damage than everybody.
Well, and this is the other thing, like the Arcane Trickster, they can grab Minor Illusion, which is super creative. Mage Hand is amazing in all sorts of exploration scenarios as well. The Arcane Trickster can bring enhanceability and invisibility, which are also useful in exploration and social interaction encounters. They could have Charm Person if they wanted to. Like, it depends on their kit, right? Whereas the Assassin's like, okay, I've got a Disguise kit and a Poisoner's kit. Not every social situation calls for disguises. It's a niche tool proficiency. And the Mimicry thing is a niche. When
it comes up, you're going to feel awesome pulling your Mission Impossible stuff. But again, unless you're doing a campaign that is entirely based on like a heist, assassination, sneak in, disguise, we need to like fake our way to being the guards of the castles that we can sneak in and infiltrate and all of that, then like...
And I can see an adventure being based on that, but not a campaign.
Yeah, so it's niche.
Yeah. See, the Soulknife.
Okay, we're going to flip the script here because this is my favorite.
Okay. Psionic Power. We get Psionic Energy dice. Again, this is like weirdly having extra class features because like the dice, you get more dice and you get bigger die sizes you start off with 46 dice, but at level 5, they go to 68. And then level 9, it's 8d8, level 11, 8d10. 13th level, you get 10d10, 17th level, 12d12. What can you do with your Psionic Power? Bolstered Knack. You fail a skill check? No, you didn't, because you just rolled a Psionic Energy die and added the result to one of your skills.
And for the rogue who has a lot of proficiencies and a lot of expertise, this just basically says you're not failing skill checks.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, as long as you're proficient in it, you are nailing skill checks left, right, and center, which is massive because that applies in every single pillar of play. The rogues are already very reliable, thanks to reliable talent at nailing their skills, but the Soulknife just takes it to the next level. Psychic Whisperers. Now we're setting up the walkie-talkies for the party.
Yeah, you can like communicate with your crew, you know?
Telepathic communication between the party members is an amazing ability, and normally you have to wait till like level 9 or have a Great Old One Warlock or a Soulknife somewhere in your party to set this up. It's a great feature. It applies in every pillar of play because, again, it works in social interactions with people like telepathically talking to each other while you're talking to the NPC. It works in exploration. It works in combat.
You're also going to gain Psychic Blades at third level. So
wait, we get this and Psychic Blades at level 3?
Yeah, so we're not even done. You just got your subclass and you have like all of these dice. You're going to spend them to like bolster your skill checks, telepathic links, and you can summon spectral Psychic Blades into your hands. My favorite like unwritten thing here is you can go into a place. Again, I love the infiltration idea with the rogue. You can go into a place unarmed. You can be searched, and you can be like, no weapons on me.
No magic on me.
No
I'm
magic,
not wearing a disguise. Nothing.
And then you go in, and boom, you have psychic blades, and you stab your target.
That, to me, is a better infiltration trick.
It's better than the assassin already.
What the assassin's doing.
I don't need a disguise. I don't need to mimic anybody. I can just be like, you can search me.
I'm just here for the fair. I'm just here to come to the fair.
Yeah, I'm coming to the fair. Yes, I know the prince is here. I know you have to search me. I'm not going to murder the prince, but you are. With your psychic blades, which are also, they are finesse weapons that have the thrown property. So
And Vex.
So you can use them if you want to, like, go in, and you have baked in sort of dual wielding. You can use a bonus action to attack with your second psychic blade. So the first one is 1d6 damage. Second one is 1d4 damage, but both add your modifier to it.
Yes, because this isn't the light weapon property. In fact, here's the only, like, quote unquote issue, is that psychic blades aren't light weapon.
Oh, they're simple finesse. They're not light finesse. Just simple finesse melee weapon.
You couldn't use a real weapon with a psychic blade to actually dual wielder.
But who wants to?
Well, the reason there being is that you would be able to, like, get a nick mastery in there.
Yeah.
And the psychic blades, like, are not more damage than weapons that you would have available anyways. And okay, this is not a true downside, but it is a factor.
Mm-hmm.
Your psychic blades aren't magic weapons. They do psychic damage, but, like, if you find a tasty, tasty magic weapon, now you're not using your psychic blades.
Okay, breaking the game a little bit. If I was a DM and I warded my Soulknife a magic weapon, I would let them, like, channel that into their psychic.
Yeah, it just is a gap.
It is.
It is.
And I wish they had an ability that said, like, the Soulknife can, like, meditate on a magic weapon and, like, harness its power into their psychic blades.
But they're still good.
They are still good.
They're still good.
Now we take the big jump. We have some cool stuff going on. You're going to gain more dice between the big jump, but we jump up to 9th level, and you're going to get soul blades. So now you have your homing strikes. So you add the psionic energy die to attack rolls. So if you miss an attack roll, you can just roll one of your dice and hopefully hit. And then on top of that, psychic teleportation. I love this ability. So you roll a psychic energy die. You times the number on the die by 10. And that is, thematically, you are throwing your blade at a point and then teleporting to it. You can throw it as anywhere in the distance up to 10 times what you rolled on the die.
I just wish you could throw this at somebody and teleport to them. Like that, I just wish that worked.
Like that you could do damage.
Yes, you threw the knife at somebody and then teleported up to them to pull it out.
I mean, you could flay. I know what you mean, though. I know what you mean.
But that would be just kind of cool. Level 13, Psychic Veil. Use a psionic energy die to become invisible.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? So
now you're invisible.
We're teleporting, telepathic, invisible, and then we can also, at level 17, rend minds by spending 3 psionic energy die on a sneak attack to stun someone.
Yeah.
With the Psychic Blade.
So that's the Soulknife, and I gotta say, I know that you're an Arcane Trickster boy. You've been an Arcane Trickster boy for a very long time. Yeah. My Swashbuckler is great, but I think that Soulknife now is my favorite rogue subclass.
We're boosting our skills.
Yeah.
We're bringing massive utility to the party in the form of telepathy. We're getting a cool attack that is useful and good. We're getting more accuracy with those attacks.
You're a better infiltrator than the assassin.
We're teleporting.
You're invisible.
We're turning invisible. We're stunning people.
You're a better infiltrator. You're a better support because you have support features here. You actually have more. Okay, this is like a lateral move, but I just want to point this out. You have more psionic energy dice than the Arcane Trickster has spell slots.
Usually, yes.
The Arcane Trickster has more variety, but most of the things you're looking to do with your spells is what the Soulknife does with their psionic energy.
I think this is an A+.
I'm borderline S.
I mean, on the skill front, this is S tier. Like, this character with the skilled feat and lucky and skill expert and the right combination of feats,
This is my social manipulator.
You are never failing skill.
I'm giving my Soulknife high charisma, and I don't need a weapon ever.
Yeah, I really like this class.
I'm wearing a suit.
You have like almost convinced me that this is better than the Arcane Trickster. Almost. And bear in mind that you do get psionic energy dice. You get one back on a short rest, and you get them all back on a long rest. So you actually get more uses of them throughout the day. Although, yes, the Arcane Trickster can kind of get around this by using concentration spells, right? And like, but it is like, what are you taking as an Arcane Trickster? Well, you wanted to take invisibility, so there you go.
You wanted Misty Step.
You wanted Misty Step. There you go. Right. The Arcane Trickster got these slightly earlier.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
That is worth noting, but at a higher cost of a spell slot. So, yeah, this is. I still love the Arcane Trickster.
We're allowed to have different favorites,
but these are both. It's A+. Yeah.
Not an S. Why is it not an S? And I'm not saying like I'm arguing with you that it should be. I'm just like I'm on the razor's edge of like A+ to F.
Okay. This subclass absolutely destroys the social and exploration pillars.
Yeah.
But it's not really broken in combat.
And in order to be S tier, we want it to be like outstanding in all three.
And I would say
the biggest pillar.
And this is my other argument is that skill checks are playing the game fair, right? Like a character that can nail a skill check is consistently is still playing by the rules.
But you've seen my rogue perform in like the amount of times that you've just been like, yeah, I guess don't even bother rolling for that check. Like
yeah, but your rogue is not a soul knife, and you still get to that level.
True.
So what we're saying here is that like to a certain extent,
it might be overkill.
It might be overkill
because even my swashbuckler is like so good at skills that it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I'll give it the A+, but I want everybody out there to know that it's my favorite, in case that wasn't clear. The Soulknife is so good. It's so fun. It's so thematic.
Yeah.
I love the artwork.
Yep.
We also know I'm a big fan of edgelord characters, so like that artwork is speaking to me.
Yeah. Blue-haired edgelord.
Oh, yeah.
Lightning bolt in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah, maximum edge.
So I love it. I love the Soulknife.
There's something about the edge of the knife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I build my characters, on the edge.
The Thief. All right. Thief, level 3, fast hands.
Use objects in sleight of hand as a bonus action. Cool.
And then we get a climb speed with second story work, and we get increased jump distance. And that's what you got at level 3. So it does nothing for combat at all. Like, I mean, does it do nothing? I mean, there's ways that you can use objects in combat, and there's ways that climb speed. Okay,
climb speed is cool to get to a vantage point for your sniper.
So I'm taking that back immediately. It's not that it does nothing in combat; it does nothing overtly to do damage. Like, so this is creative player using the environment well.
This is about, and again, I think the Thief's vibe, and not saying that this is good or makes it amazing, but the Thief's vibe is less about dealing damage. And the problem is it's not as good of a skill master as Soulknife. But when we look at these first two abilities, it is about what they can do, like their ability to interact with things quickly and gain a vantage point quickly.
Yeah.
So they do have some extra maneuverability, and you can disarm a trap and shoot somebody, or you can pickpocket somebody and stab them. So there's not nothing, but that's all you're getting at third level.
Level 9, you get Supreme Sneak, which is a new cunning strike that lets you remain hidden when you sneak attack. I feel like this one is actually really hard to use, because you still need to be in a good hiding spot, which means probably ranged attacks instead of going into melee. And I know people don't like it when I say, but you could take a feat instead. But you could take a feat instead because Skulker is going to give you.
And actually, Skulker is something that we recommend for all rogues. So you want Skulker anyway.
Use magic device is cool.
This is probably this is the problem, but is also what I will say is the best part of the thief. The best part of the thief is that at level 13 you can attune to another magic item and you can use spell scrolls.
Okay, so your class feature might be entirely irrelevant depending on how many magic items and what magic items your DM gives you.
Yes. Now, your fast hands lets you use the magic action as well, so you could trigger a magic item that you're holding with fast hands as a bonus action.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but again, what magic items did your DM give you? At level 17, we do get to take 2 turns on the first turn of combat. One of them is your initiative minus 10, and the other one's your initiative normally. So, those last 2 features are the most exciting if you got cool magic items.
And I've seen some people talk about this idea that, like, with use magic device, does it let you, like, use a wand as a bonus action and then use a wand again as your main action to, like, double fireball with a wand of fireballs?
It seems to loosely imply that.
Yeah. We'll have to look at the full magic items in the Dungeon Master's Guide when that comes out, but that would be a circumvention of the only one spell with a spell slot per turn sort of thing. But again, that's a 13th level feature, wholly dependent on the magic items that you get.
This is the problem.
And also potentially a controversial ruling.
My favorite thief is the one from level 13 to 20, and most campaigns end at 13.
Yeah.
So from level 3 to 9, you have a climb speed and a bonus action,
which is good for creative players.
Yeah, it's not 0. It's just compared to the Soulknife and the Arcane Trickster.
I think we got to give this one a B, because this is going to be the character that, like, a lot of the strength of this subclass is going to come down to creative use of the environment, creative use of objects and potentially items and equipment and gear. And all of those things are very subjective in how much your dungeon master is going to let you get away with and how much your dungeon master is going to give you to play with in the first place.
If you're a dungeon master with a thief rogue at your table, give them the magic items. Yeah. Give them the spell scroll.
Give them the acid flasks and the weird toolkits and the things to interact with on in
Make sure your environments. If I had a thief rogue, I would build my environments like, you know, when you're in a video game. I hate comparing to video games, but I do it all the time. You know, when you're in a video game and you're in one of those games where, like, you walk into an area and there's, like, little broken walls and stuff, and you're like, oh, a combat's about to break out in this room because there's like 18 places for me to duck behind. You actually want to do that for your thief rogue. Yeah. It's like make places for them to climb to and hide behind. Yeah. And then that's going to make the thief rogue very happy. I do think I can agree with B, because if I'm being honest, yeah, I just went crazy for the Soulknife. The thief is one of my favorite rogues in archetype. I love the idea of, like, I'm not here to shoot or stab people. I'm here because I'm the cunning thief who can sneak in and get the thing. I just also feel like I wish thieves actually had more that helped me sneak in and get the thing.
I just feel like the thief is another one of those subclasses that, to me, the thief is such a core archetype for rogues in general that, like, if these class features had have been built into the rogue class, I don't think anyone would have been batting an eye.
No, you're right.
Right?
Like, what if all thieves had a climb speed and could use thieves' tools as a bonus action? Like, why not?
Yeah. So they're not bad, but, like, they are niche. They're subject to a lot of DM interpretation and environmental fiat on how useful they are. So I think that I can live with a B for the thief.
Okay.
Right? There's a part of me that's tempted to say they're a C, but I actually think that you're more likely to have, like, a DM that is, like, more willing to play along with the thief than a bunch of combat encounters that only happen on the first round with the assassin.
Whereas the thief is reliant on DM interpretation and how the DM sets up their game, the assassin is structurally set up to only do their thing once.
There's no per combat.
Yeah, the once per combat. There's no way that a DM can fix that unless you're homebrewing or house ruling. But on paper, the thief actually has more of an opportunity.
Yeah.
As we look at our final rankings here, I think that if I were to rank these, for me, the Soulknife is on the line between S and A.
I think the Arcane Trickster is too.
Fair.
But I think they're in a healthy place. And I think this is part of like the new philosophy that you and I are trying to adopt with this round of subclass tier rankings is that like we're holding off on giving the S tier rankings to things that are still fine for most, like don't overstep the power level.
I'm just going to say it. In 2014, it became cumbersome for us when they introduced something like the Twilight or Peace Domain Cleric, and we were like, oh, we already did the clerics and gave S tiers, but these are a step above that.
Yeah.
So now S tiers for like, I actually don't know how many S tiers there's going to be in the PHB, but in future publications, we might see some things that are like, oh, that's powerful. And then we talk about the S tier. You know, some things have slipped into the S tier, and it is worth talking about, but
yeah,
Arcane Trickster and Soulknife are both on the verge of being incredibly powerful, but I actually think they are sitting, yeah, you're right, in a very healthy place for rogues. The Thief is cool in the right circumstances, and I wish that the Assassin had gotten more.
I do too. Like the Assassin, we didn't rank the Assassin highly before, and they got nerfed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a shame. Like, they actually do stand out to me as the one that I would not pick.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if somebody is excited, the reason why they're a C and not a D, I wouldn't pick Assassin. But if somebody at my table said, I want to play an Assassin, I would let them know. I wouldn't be like, hey, I got to warn you, but I would be like, let me explain to you how these abilities work.
Yeah.
Clearly. And I was like, does that sound awesome? And if they're like, yeah, that sounds great, I'd be like, cool, let's do it. Let's go for it. You're going to have fun. I'll probably set it up so that there's some enemies for them to nuke, and that I will actually probably write in ways for them to use the disguise kit.
Yeah.
So I don't hate the Assassin. I like it. I just wish it got more.
Yeah, me too.
These are our rankings for the Rogue. If you disagree with us, if you super agree with us, or if you want to tell Monty and I why the Arcane Trickster or the Soulknife are better, that's going to be the debate in the comments. I'm the Soulknife boy. He's the Arcane Trickster boy. Who's winning this debate? Let us know in the comments below.
The videos that we make on our channel are made possible thanks to the incredible generosity of our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the work that we do here on YouTube, please consider becoming a patron of the show. The links are all down below.
And if you want to see me playing a rogue, you can check us out in our actual play in the Worlds of Drakenheim, which airs Tuesday evenings right here on YouTube. You can check out all the previous episodes right up over here.
And we got all of our subclass tier rankings for the 2024 PHB right up over here.
Please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and ring that bell so that you never miss an episode.
Thanks so much for watching. See you next time
in the dungeon.